Check this out.
And here we go.
Jake, you talk about one of the key objectives, of course, is the provision of humanitarian aid and food to the people of Gaza. The Pentagon, within the last 24 hours, said that they did not believe that any of the aid from the pier, where the construction was led by the United States military, has been received by the people of Gaza to this point. Your thoughts on that, given this, has this been a failure? How do we fix this situation, and was the U.S. insufficiently prepared to utilize this as a means by which to deliver aid?
You're right.
First, just to level set, since Saturday, the UN has in fact distributed humanitarian supplies from the pier to Palestinian civilians in Deir el-Bala, in Al-Mawasi, and in Khan Yunis.
So aid from the pier has now gone specifically to the Palestinians who need it?
That's correct. And there's been about 695 metric tons of food that has come off the pier so far. About 2/3 of that either has gone or is on its way to going to Palestinian civilians. The issue is not actually getting food to the pier or off the pier. It's being able to ensure that we have necessary security arrangements in place to deliver it. We have had modalities to get some of that aid distributed. We are in the process of building out to get more of it distributed. So the answer to your initial question is no, it's not a failure of planning. Yes, it is an indication this is a dynamic environment and we need to continue to refine. But aid is flowing. It is not flowing at the rate that any of us would be happy with, because we always want more. But we are actually seeing good cooperation between the U.S., the IDF, the UN, and other humanitarian organizations to ensure that aid goes from that pier to innocent people in need, and we'll continue to do that as we go.
No, you haven't. You're a lying, dog-faced pony soldier.
You just said that there's no mathematical formula as you evaluate Israel's offensive Rafah, but the administration repeatedly has said that the U.S. will not support a large-scale ground invasion. So how do you define large-scale ground invasion? And then secondly, has the president's broken promise to visit Africa created any challenges as you try to deepen relationships with the countries there?
The president would really look forward to visiting Africa. He intends to do so as president of the United States. I obviously don't have anything to announce today. But if you look at the breadth of his personal engagement on this issue, including being a president, the first in 20 years to actually host an African leader for a state visit here.
Really?
I think it shows, along with the specific tangible policy actions that he has taken, including most recently, by the way, an overlooked part of the National Security Supplemental was funding actually to help emerging economies, including in Africa. His record will stand for himself, and we believe that what today will showcase is not questions about the U.S. commitment, but answers that the U.S. is actually delivering for Africa, for the African people, in this case for the country of Kenya, but also with Kenya for the broader continent. In terms of how we look at Rafah, as I've said before, the key concern that we have is major maneuvers into dense urban areas, and that continues to be something that we will look at.
Well, these matches say you're lying.
What we have seen so far has not been that. What unfolds in the coming days is something that we will review closely day by day, and we'll continue to take briefings from Israel about how they are refining their approach, in part based on concerns that we have expressed to them.
About the three nations, European nations, recognizing a Palestinian state, is the U.S. concerned that this is just the tip of the iceberg, that we're now at a point where other nations, over U.S. objections, will recognize Palestine?
Each country is entitled to make its own determinations, but the U.S. position on this is clear. President Biden, as I just said, has been on the record supporting a two-state solution. He has been equally emphatic on the record that that two-state solution should be brought about through direct negotiations through the parties, not through unilateral recognition. That's a principled position that we have held on a consistent basis. We'll communicate that to our partners around the world, and we'll see what unfolds.
Just a sort of quick follow-up on that. How concerned are you about Israel's growing sort of diplomatic isolation? And do you view it that way? And what does this also mean for, any deal any Saudi deal to recognize Israel going forward? I mean, does this diminish the chances of that?
I think it's a fair question. As a country that stands strong in defense of Israel in international forums like the United Nations, we certainly have seen a growing chorus of voices, including voices that had previously been in support of Israel, drift in another direction. That is of concern to us because we do not believe that that contributes to Israel's long-term security or vitality. And so that's something that we discussed with the Israeli government, and something that we believe that a strategic approach to defeating Hamas, protecting civilians, surging humanitarian assistance, and then pursuing that vision of regional integration I just talked about will put Israel in the best stead to engage countries around the world and revitalize a lot of the partnerships and friendships that have been a source of great strength for Israel over time and can be again.
These guys are pros. You thinking what I'm thinking, partner? Aim for the bushes.
Thank you, Jake. Did the U.S., did you in your meetings provide any U.S. intelligence about Sinwar's whereabouts?
So I think at the root of this question is a story that is just completely wrong, that somehow we were withholding information from the Israeli government relating to Sinwar or any other Hamas terrorist who was responsible for October 7th. The fact is that the United States has provided an intense range of assets and capabilities and expertise, which I got briefed on while I was in Israel, to help hunt down and deliver justice to Sinwar and everyone else who brought about October 7th. We have been doing that day in and day out for as long as this conflict has been going on, and we will do it until the job is done. It's not tied or conditioned on anything else. It is not limited. We are not holding anything back. We are providing every asset, every tool, every capability. And frankly, we have some of the best there is in the business on this.
Prove it!
And they are hard at work with the Israeli government to help them try to achieve their ultimate objective here. So I didn't have anything myself to come at because we've already flowed and supplied everything on a perpetual, ongoing basis through the work that we're doing on the ground right there in Israel, and we'll continue to do that.
The senior administration official has suggested, which I believe is the administration's view, that until Hamas is fully held to account, that the peace process and any two-state solution could not go forward. Do you see Israel being able to deliver on that? And then do you see Israel accepting a two-state solution?
So I'd have to refer you to the Israeli government about their position with respect to the future of a Palestinian state or the Palestinian question. I can just state to you what the U.S. position is.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
President Biden believes that a two-state solution that guarantees Israel's security and also a future of dignity and security for the Palestinian people is the best way to bring about long-term security and stability for everyone in the region, Israelis, Palestinians, and Arabs. And he has talked about a regional vision of Israel actually being integrated with all of the moderate Arab states in an architecture that can deliver regional stability. And I was in Saudi Arabia talking to the Crown Prince about that exact vision this weekend, and you saw public statements from him about what is possible if Israel moves down that path. So that's a conversation we'll continue to have with the Israeli government. In the meantime, what we will do is work to ensure the enduring defeat of Hamas, and a day after in Gaza that involves governance and security not provided by Hamas but by an alternative that ultimately gets us on a credible pathway to that two-state solution that President Biden is talking about.
There were rumors that there was a rumor, but that was just bullshit.
Israel is responding to the move to recognize Palestinian statehood by withholding funds from the Palestinian Authority. What do you make of this decision and the economic impact that it could have?
I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong on a strategic basis because withholding funds destabilizes the West Bank. It undermines the search for security and prosperity for the Palestinian people, which is in Israel's interests. And I think it's wrong to withhold funds that provide basic goods and services to innocent people. So from our perspective, those funds should continue to go with all of the necessary safeguards, but they should continue to flow.
And also, Leader Schumer is in talks with the Speaker to invite Netanyahu to come and address Congress. Does the President support the Prime Minister delivering an address like this at this time?
So we have not at this point heard from the Prime Minister on a joint address to the Congress.
You know nothing.